Welcome to the children's program from Leaside United Church in Toronto. Today, we are going to talk about our worries and learn about how God cares for us when we are in need. You will need your Read, Wonder, Listen Bible if you have one. And for today's craft, you will need construction paper, a toilet paper tube, tape, and glue, some scissors, a pencil, aluminum foil, markers, and last, some uncooked rice or fine gravel or something similar, about a teaspoon to tablespoon. If you're watching live, you can try to quickly gather what you need. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can pause the video now and collect what you need. Now we're going to light the Christ candle. We light the Christ candle each week to remind us that the light of God shines inside each and every one of us. Today, we're going to do a breathing activity. I want you to sit up and place one hand below your belly button, or maybe lie on your back and do this. And notice that when you take big breaths, how your hand and your belly go up and down. When we let out our air today, we're going to let out a big sigh. We're going to imagine when we take in our big breath that it's bringing us peace and calm throughout our body. And in our heads we'll say, inhaling peace and calm. And when we blow out that air in that big sigh, we're going to say to ourselves, exhaling worry and sadness. Let's try it. Inhaling peace and calm. Exhaling worries and sadness. Again. Inhaling peace and calm. Exhaling worries and sadness. And once more on our own. In the Bible story today, the Israelites had been released from slavery and were free from Egypt and oppression. They had been asked to follow Moses through the desert on their way to a new land and a new life. But the people of Israel were about to discover that they were not prepared for their journey through the wilderness. If you have your Read, Wonder, Listen Bible, you can turn to page 62, Gifts in the Desert, and read along, or you can just listen. In those first days of freedom, the people of Israel were so happy they woke up every morning with glad hearts, eager for each step of the journey that would bring them closer to the promised land. But as the weeks and months passed and they were still in the desert, they grew impatient. "Where are you leading us?" they asked Moses. "Why is it taking so long? When will we get there? Are you sure you know the way?" God told Moses, "These people are not ready to live in the promised land. First, they need to learn who they are and how they should live." "How will they learn?" asked Moses. "I will show them," said God. "The desert is the best place for getting ready." But the people complained about being in the desert. "We're starving," they grumbled. "We're all going to die out here." Remember the food in Egypt, the crunchy cucumbers and ripe melons? Remember the fresh meat and bread? God heard their grumbling and gave them a gift, a feast in the desert. Every evening, flocks of quail landed near their camp. The people caught them easily and roasted them over open fires. The meat was hot and juicy. Every morning, the ground was covered with white, flaky stuff. It tasted sweet like honey. "What is it?" the people asked Moses. "It's a gift from God," said Moses. "Special desert bread. We call it manna." There was just enough manna for each person each day. If anyone tried to hoard it or to take more than their fair share, the manna spoiled and no one could eat it. "My people must learn to trust me," said God. "There is more to life than food, but I will always give them what they need." But soon, the people grew tired of the manna and the quail. What makes you mumble or grumble under your breath? Is it when things don't go your way? When things seem unfair? For the past 7 months, we've been living in a time where life seems pretty unfair and things probably aren't going our way. I'm talking about living in a world with COVID-19. And I'll bet there have been times when you've said or thought, "This isn't fair. I don't like all these new rules. Why can't I visit my friends? Why can't I see Grandma or Grandpa?" You probably already know this, but just in case, let's review what COVID-19 is and how it spreads. It's always good to know the facts. COVID-19 is caused by a germ or a virus that can make the body sick. People with COVID-19 may have a cough, fever, and trouble taking deep breaths, but some people, especially kids who have the virus, may not feel sick at all or may have mild symptoms like a cold. COVID-19 spreads by liquid droplets that come out of the mouth and nose when a person coughs, sneezes, and sometimes when a person talks or sings. What you need to know is that doctors and scientists are studying to learn more about this new virus so they can help us figure out the best way to beat it. So far, we know that to help beat it, we need to wash our hands really well, wear a mask that covers our nose, mouth, and chin, and keep 2 meters away, what we call being socially or physically distant, from people who are not in our bubble. I want you to know that it's okay to feel upset and frustrated with the situation we are all living in. It may take some time, and the frustrating part is we don't know how much time, but things will eventually get back to the way they were before. In the story we heard, the Israelites complained when they were upset. We heard that God listened. The Israelites in our story were worried about real challenges. It's important to have enough food to eat, just like it's important right now to do what we can to keep our families and friends from getting sick. While we're doing our craft today, we're going to think about ways to care for ourselves and others during COVID-19. Today we're going to be making a sighing stick. To start to make our sighing stick, we need to take a piece of construction paper and our toilet paper tube. I've chosen construction paper that sort of matches the tube, but you can choose whatever color you want. You need to trace around the toilet paper tube with your pencil. And then once you've traced around the edge of the toilet paper tube, you're going to have to draw another circle a centimeter or so outside of the circle that you traced. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're going to trace the 2 circles. Then you're going to do it again because we need one for the top and one for the bottom. So we'll fast forward for that and we'll show you how we made the 2 circles. So again, it just sketch out that outside circle. It's not that important that it's perfectly round. Next, we'll take our scissors and we will cut out both of these circles. Make sure you cut on the outside edge. We need that inside edge as a guide later on. Once we've cut that out, we're going to cut little cuts right up to the edge of the inside circle, little spokes. So we'll get those all cut out. There we go. And then when that's done, we're going to glue that to one end of the toilet paper tube. So we need to put lots of glue on those edges. So all the way around the edge, and oops, it's a little stuck. Line up that circle as best you can and start folding down each of those spokes to stick it to the toilet paper tube. It gets a little fiddly, but it can be done. And when you're done, you'll end up with something that looks like this. And I see one spoke that you can get stuck down, so we'll stick it down. And then we're going to grab our tape because we want to make sure that this is a good seal. And we'll grab our tape and tape up the edge one more time just to be sure that it's going to be sealed, because we're going to put that rice or that gravel inside and we don't want it getting out. So fast forward through the taping and there we go. We have one end that is covered. So next thing, we need to grab our aluminum foil and rip off a piece of foil. And as it happens, I'm at the end of the roll, but that's about right. Probably 10 centimeters long or so piece of foil. And you're going to fold it into a strip. So just fold it on top of itself to make a strip that about a centimeter thick or so. Fold that up. And then you're going to make a corkscrew. I wound it around my finger, and unfortunately I realized that you can't quite see my hand here. It will show up again, but I wound it around my finger to make a corkscrew. There you go. And that corkscrew needs to be just a tiny bit longer than the toilet paper tube. You're going to put it inside the toilet paper tube when you're done. So there you go. See, it's just a little taller. It has a little bit of spring. And then next we've got our other end that I cut out previously, and we put a lot of glue on that. And we're going to cover it up. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot something. We have to put the rice inside. So take your rice or your gravel or your dried lentils and put about a teaspoon or so in. They say to put 1/10 of the toilet paper tube. If you're not sure what 1/10 is, you can ask an adult. And put that in, and then we can glue down the other covering for the end of the tube. So there we go. All glued down. And again, we need to tape it because we don't want that rice or gravel or lentils or whatever you've put in to be coming out. There we go. So now we need to decorate this tube. I'm going to cover mine with construction paper. You don't have construction paper around, you could always just take your markers or paint and paint on it. Now, like we did with the bee that we made in another program, we're going to measure it at the top, draw a line there, and then I drew a line on the side and I measured that line from that line on the side, rolled along to the side, that line met again, go a little bit further, draw a line. You could grab a ruler and make nice straight lines, but I'm just going to cut it out. Up to you if you want to grab a ruler. And then we're going to glue that piece of paper onto the tube. Again, you don't have to have a piece of paper like this. You could cut out little pieces of paper of different sizes and colors and glue them on top and put a very neat pattern. It's your choice. This is what I've chosen to do, but you can be as creative as you want. So now we're going to roll this onto the toilet paper tube. And it's going to take a little time for that glue to stick, and because we don't have the time right now, I'm going to grab a couple pieces of tape and just help it stick down. I think if you have the time at home, you might be able to hold it till the glue sticks, but we're going to hold it down, and maybe your glue won't stick either, and you'll have to have a little tape. Now we're going to get out our markers, and we're going to decorate our sighing stick. So while we are decorating the sighing stick, let's think about those ways that we could care for ourselves and others during COVID-19. What could you do to take care of yourself? Could you read a book or have someone read you a story? Listen to your favorite music? Watch a funny music? Go for a walk? Ride your bike? Get outdoors? Play a fun game with your family? Meditate or pray using the sighing stick that we're making. I'll tell you how to do that a little later. Take a nice bubble bath. What could we do for others? Check in on our friends and neighbors and family members? Connect virtually with people? Write a letter to someone who might be lonely? Support a food bank? Be a listener? Or share good news? So there we go. Our sighing stick is done. Make your sighing stick sigh, hold it upright, and then slowly turn it over. If you're feeling sad about something, you can use the stick to help show your feelings. You can use the stick to think about and pray about sad things. You might say something like this: Dear God, I'm thinking about my friend who I can't see and it makes me sad. Then use your sighing stick to sigh. Imagine the Spirit sitting right beside you. You could finish by saying, Amen. Our time has come to an end, but before we go, let's give thanks to God for listening to our worries and concerns. Let's give thanks for all those who help us to feel better when we have worries. And let's give thanks to God for everyone who is caring for those who are ill and for those who are doing their best to keep us all healthy and safe. Have a good week, everyone. We'll see you next time.